That's what the League of California Cities estimates it costs a city to close each one. And I'm going to say to you, based on my experience now, 7 years with this subject, the bad guys reopen again. They just move another location and reopen again. There are some folks like Ms. Patricia Hart here, who sincerely are trying to provide medical marijuana to treat people's illnesses. But there's a lot of bad actors out there. I've left with you a little report here, which is 2 pages, very short. I want to make the suggestion that you not approve marijuana businesses, but that you authorize your police department to issue regulatory licenses, conduct background checks, require waivers from these marijuana businesses before you let them operate in your city. Waivers so that you don't have to spend $70,000 on outside attorneys to close down these businesses. If they want to operate in your city, they need to follow your rules, and they need to get a license for the police department. They need to have background checks done, and you should not be issuing licenses to criminals. And unfortunately, a lot of these are criminals. But the few good people that could actually help your community, and I think the scientific research is pretty solid now that medical marijuana has its place. We now have a state regulatory program in place under that new Proposition 64. The state is regulating this stuff from seed to sale. So you have backup from the state now. Before you didn't, not a good idea. Anyway, I've left my phone number, I've left my name, I've left a little report. Please call me next week or have someone from the police department call me or the city manager's office call me. I'd like to discuss this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Up next will be Barry Bowles, and he'll be followed by Karina Ramirez. Karina will have 12 minutes. Very far inside.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you. I'll just be brief about this real quick. Over the last year and a half, last time I came over here, I was asking on behalf of the ex-felons, the ones that are doing good, the ones that have been out multiple years, like myself. I didn't even know this town existed until 4.5 years ago. But what can be done? You got all this crime that's going on, but who is it? Everybody's jumping on the felons. It's not just the felons that are having problems. It's everybody. I've asked the city council before to show me any resources. Sure, they gave me 4 places to call. We're employment agencies that don't accept felons, let alone just a misdemeanor. So now you have all these people that want to work that can't get a job anywhere because there's nothing to give. Obviously, you agree with me.
I do agree with you.
All right, that's one step. But what I've had to relate to lately is just doing security at parties, which the police come, that's fine. But it also ended up taking a friend of mine away, and that's Daniel Ramirez. He'd sit there and stand with me all night long, 6, 8, 10, 12 hours, it didn't matter. He was standing there with me the entire time. But now I'm asking you, what can be done? If there's more jobs, you'd have less crime. I guarantee you that.
I don't disagree with that.
All right. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Karina.
Hi, my name is Karina Ramirez. I represent homicide families. My son was a murder victim here last year, November 4, 2016. I'm here today. First of all, a lot of people have been on my homicide wall. Got a lot of feedback regarding what happened. You just went MIA on us. You're not attending council meetings. You're not doing nothing. You're not doing rallies. You just disappeared. I disappeared because I got diagnosed with cancer. And I've really had a hard time. I'm already done with my treatments. I'm done with everything. We're supposed to have a big rally today called Break the Silence. It didn't happen because I'm not feeling 100 yet. But I came tonight to tell you guys, and I know a lot of people, it's being recorded live. I have the film producers here. One thing I want to say is I'm thankful for the police department. And I see the little bit of changes you guys have done with throwing gang tasks out there, seeing them here, there, doing their job. I'm glad. I was there one day coming out the store last week, and this guy was jumping around, and they recovered a gun. Good. One less gun off the street when Hemet High had that thing about the school is going to get shot up. Now, my thing is, I'm grateful Daniel's killers are in jail. I thank Chief Brown. I had my peace treat with him. But I have a lot of feedback saying, how come Daniel was the only person that they ran ballistics on when all those guns were recovered? How come it was all about Daniel? You know what? I keep telling the parents, step up, step out. A year ago, I came here and I said, God said, humble yourself. Let me do my thing. And I came here and I had said there was a lot of misconduct in the police department. There was a lot of things going on. People said, but then look, a year later, you guys are on the news for that. Every spot has good apples and bad apples, and it just so happened to be here. Now, my thing is, you guys are wasting taxpayers' money. Are you guys doing it out of your heart that you guys want the crime to stop in the city? Or are you guys just doing it as a show? Let's just throw more officers out there, have them stop every other car so the residents can see that, hey, we're on it, and they'll shut up. And I'm asking this because I want to know, what's the point of doing these sweeps, having them go busting doors down, and then you guys do a thing on the news? Because of us, you guys did that war on crime. And a year later, you guys are just throwing more officers out there, but nobody's going to jail. And I'm saying this because I did my research and I did my homework. Back in the day, you would get busted with a gun. You went to jail. You went to court. You got placed on probation. You get caught again with a gun. You were in violation of a gun. You were going to jail. Now, why is it so many of these youngsters are getting pulled over, a concealed weapon, dig and dagger, barely found out what that was, and possession or under the influence, they get arrested and they're out. And then they got multiple counts of firearms. I mean, what's the point of doing a big show and they're just coming out and it's getting written off? And the reason why I'm saying this is because you guys did this big thing and we're all over the news, and the DA was here, Michael, whatever his last name is. But when it comes down to it, you guys had a big poster here with people's pictures on it, that they were wanted, and this and that, FBI. So what was the purpose of all that, and you guys getting charged them? And I'm saying it because the ones that killed my son were on that poster board, and where are the charges? All the gun charges at? All the other possession charges? Where are all those charges at? Why is it only gang membership and murder and attempted murder? What happened to the reason why you guys went and raided their house? The things you guys found. They were in and out of jail, and Hemet police kept laying them out. They got several counts of firearm and possession and dig and dagger. If you guys would have kept them boys locked up in September, my son wouldn't have died. And they had already been doing a lot, and the Hemet Police Department knows it. So now that they're in jail, where's all the additional charges? Where are all the gun charges you guys promised when you guys did that meeting here? How come ballistics weren't run on all those guns there? Because Hemet's a cul-de-sac. Those guns that were on the table went from one hand to another hand to another hand to another hand and back. Because half of these people are tweakers. They're all on bicycles and on skateboards. So, the same guns rotated around. why weren't those guns ran to see how many other murders were done with those guns? Why hasn't the Miles family got no justice yet when there was 50 people standing there watching a Marine get stabbed up? And it hurts me to know that they don't have justice, because my son sitting right there came from Colorado, one from sick and two to be here as support. He's fighting for his country, doing his thing in the Army. So it's sad when you go by Watson Park and you see all these high schoolers that are homeless on drugs, and the cops are pulling them over and they're finding stuff on them, and it's just a simple slap on the wrist and they're out. So now my question is, do I really need to find another attorney now and question Hemet PD and the council members? Because like I said once, you guys are held responsible for the murders, because you guys are not doing anything about it. You guys need to get out there besides Carly and get to know your residents like some of these officers do. And there's a lot of good officers here. But you know what? If you guys can't clean up, then maybe you guys should have sheriffs come in at night and clean up. It's sad. Until it hits home and one of you guys lose a kid, who knows how many of you have somebody at Hemet High or Talquist, and something would have happened, God forbid, you guys would have been having these officers all night around the clock on your case. So my question is, when are you guys going to file the rest of the charges that the Ortiz brothers did? What was the point of having the news and all that here? Because I'm going to rally on that. And when I do my rallies, you guys know I have the news media, I have journalists, I have everybody, I have the film producers that are at my rallies, because that's my question now. Could have Daniel still been here right now if Hemet would have kept those guys in jail, knowing they had a long history of firearm, possession, dig and dagger? All four brothers are in custody. And one of them's a child molester. And he's so many in and out. You guys need to stop the in and out and get serious about, we find you with a gun and you got dope and you got this, you're going to jail. Bottom line, ain't no misdemeanor, nothing. It's sad. Because every time they get away, they know, hey, I can get busted again and it's no big deal. Your kids, our kids, shouldn't have to worry about going to school. Are we going to be tomorrow's homicide victims? There's not enough detectives, but now I hear that there's 6 instead of 4, so at least there's progress, and I'm glad for that, because, I know they have a workload. So I just want to leave you guys with that, because I do hold you guys responsible now, because they should have been already in jail and in custody instead of you guys laying them out over and over again. Daniel would have still been alive. So that's one thing. I'm not going to stop. The only way I'm not going to come to a council meeting is if I'm in the hospital. But other than that, the same way I used to pack out this place, I'm going to repack it out. Why? Because we have a lot of more kids out in the street. The summer's coming. There's no kind of activities for these kids to do other than to get high, be on tweet, be at the parks, and think of crimes to do. So you guys should think of something between now and the summer for these kids to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Karina, for coming out. And I do want to address a couple things first. Yeah. Can you have to talk with the police chief before you leave? And he can talk to you about some of your issues. But I want to point something out to you, Karina, and the rest of the audience that's here, is that a lot of the issues that you have and a lot of the crime that we're dealing with is the direct result of AB 109, Prop 47, which reduced crime, which reduced a lot of felonies to misdemeanors, and then also Proposition 57. Proposition 47 and 57 were both propositions that were passed by the voters of California. So the city council, when it comes to incarcerating people, we don't have any control over that. It's controlled by the jails. And so the county jails in Riverside County, and that's where they go. And also the state prison. So I just want to point that out, that it's not the result of what the council has done. And I applaud you for coming up here and talking about your son still, because that's very important that you talk about him and what happened to him. So I appreciate you coming out here again. But I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that not the doings of the council, it was the voters of California.
How can you guys help
Well,
give us direction on, like, this is the step you gotta take? You might have.
there is, and it's very important that when ballot measures come onto the ballot, that everybody reads them. So, but thank you. Up next.
That's it.
Okay. All right. With that, we will move on to our public hearing item, item number 13, which is a zone change, number 15002, Deanna. Actually, since there's a group leaving, Deanna, if you want to wait a minute, just let them clear out. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The public hearing before you tonight is in regard to a project called the BNR Income property. That's the property owner developer's name. Okay, so this is not advanced. Sorry. Fortunately, Carol's here to show me where the on button is. Okay, the property owner is BNR Income and Opportunity, and the applicant is Blaine Warmer Civil Engineering. The property is located on the northwest corner of Fruitvale Avenue and Kirby Street, and it's just a little over 5 acres in area. There are 3 actions regarding the project that are before you tonight. The first is the adoption of the initial study and the mitigated negative declaration and monitoring program. The second is a zone change from R1 7.2, which is single-family residential, minimum lot size 7,200, to R1 6, which is single-family, minimum lot size 6,000. And then a tentative tract map to subdivide the property into 20 single-family lots, as well as 2 lettered lots that I'll explain in a moment. This is the general plan map for the property. Let's see, where's the pointer? So there you go right there. This is Fruitvale and Kirby. The general plan designation is low-density residential, which allows for a density of 0 to 5 units per acre. The proposed project as subdivided, it would be 3.75 DU per acre, so it is well within the general plan density range. This is the existing zoning is R1 7.2. The proposed is the R1 6,000 square foot minimum lot size. The surrounding zoning, as you can see, it's R1 7.2 to the north here. It's R1 6 over here directly across the street. R1 5,000 square foot lots down here. This is an elementary school located right here, and this is R2. So it's the proposed zoning is consistent with the surrounding neighborhood. Here's an aerial photograph showing the existing use. A lot of these structures, so here's the 5 acres. A lot of the structures with single-family home, as well as various outbuildings and accessory buildings associated with prior farming activities. Most of those have now been demolished. And as you can see, the surrounding properties are developed single-family, as well as the school over here. These are larger lots, single-family. And so is truly an infill lot. So as I mentioned, the map proposes a 20-lot single-family residential development. The lot sizes actually range from 6,000 to 9,700 square feet in size. Average lot size is just under 7,000. There are 2 lettered lots, a private park and a detention basin. So here's a picture of the map. The park site is just under about a half an acre. It's right here, and the detention basin's here. The property drainage flows from north to south to this temporary retention basin, and then is outflowed. There are 2 access points, one off of Fruitvale and one off of Kirby. And these lots front onto, I'm sorry, this is Kirby, this is Fruitvale. These lots front on to Fruitvale, as do the lots across the street. The open space area and the detention basin, which would be have landscaping and wrought iron fencing as well as block wall around two sides of it, will be developed by the developer of the lots and maintained by a future homeowners association. So that would not be a maintenance responsibility of the city. There was an initial study, a mitigated neg deck that was prepared for the project to analyze any environmental impacts. The recommended mitigation measures were pretty standard: pre-construction biology and cultural resource. There was a detailed cultural resource analysis as well as bio performed. However, prior to construction, they have to do a raptor survey and burrowing out per the MSHCP. There's also noise and dust mitigation during construction activity, and there's some notifications giving the airport proximity. The negative declaration was circulated for the required 20-day public review period from January 16th to February 9th. We did not receive any public comments on the environmental. In addition, the proposed project, we had a planning commission hearing on February 20th. It was noticed, as it was for this meeting, for 500 feet surrounding the project site. No public comments were expressed at the planning commission meeting, and the commission unanimously recommended all three items for you. So in conclusion, we're recommending adoption of City Council Resolution Bill adopting the mitigated neg deck and monitoring program, to introduce and read by title only Ordinance Bill 18013, approving the zone change, and adopt additional resolution bill approving the tentative track map. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions of staff? Any questions for staff?
For staff, okay, I thought you said from staff. I went,
I may have.
I'm not at staff yet. Just a quick question. Are there trees on the perimeter of that property?
There were quite a few trees that were scattered amongst the property, just in and outside of the building area. I think some of those have been removed. Yeah, a lot of it's been removed on the property. Maybe Blaine's been out there more recently and could comment on that.
Well, I'm just curious, since we are a tree city and we try to preserve trees at all costs, are any of these trees going to be saved, or are they all going to be cut down?
I would have to look at the map again, if they can be, if any of the trees are in the correct placement for the improvements, but you do have to finish the street improvements on Kirby and Fruitvale, and usually that will require in the grading and the sidewalk that you're going to have to remove the trees.
I'm thinking the ones on Kirby are the old eucalyptus that has been there for quite a while.
Right. And although street trees will be replanted every 40 feet in front of all of the lots and along the frontages.
So long as we're taking the trees into consideration. Thank you. That's all the only question I had.
With the zone change, is it going to change the arena numbers that are required under the general plan, housing element?
No.
Is it going to help us?
Well, potentially it could for, moderate housing construction, but it's not one of the arena sites. They're more interested in the high density and the very high density, so it won't hurt us, but it's not a requirement arena.
And then how soon are they looking to start construction?
The engineer might be able to address that better, but the indication I got at the Planning Commission is that they wanted to move towards final engineering fairly quickly. So we're hopeful to start that process. There's no elevations or floor plans submitted with this. That would be a separate application when they're ready with the product.
Okay. All right. No other questions of staff? All right, I'll open the public hearing. If there's anybody from the public that would like to speak on this. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Blaine Warmer of Warmer Engineering, 41555 East Florida Avenue, Suite G. We have reviewed the staff report. We went into it in detail with the Planning Commission. There was a couple tweaks. Everything got worked out at that level, and we received approval. So we just respectfully request approval from this body as well. But I am here to answer any questions to Mr. Mayor, your question as far as timing goes. We, just because of the environment we find ourselves in now and the timing, our client did authorize us to start final engineering on this in anticipation of an approval. So they are anxious to get going. So we're working on that now.
That's good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Is there anybody else from the public that would like to talk about this item? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Thank you. Deanna, any comments, direction? What do you want to do?
I think it's about time we got started on this project, and if no other questions, I will move the item.
All right. Let's vote. All right, that passes 4-0.
Ordinance Bill Number 18-013, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Hemet, California, approving zone change number 15-002 to rezone 5.33 acres located at the northwest corner of Kirby Street and Fruitvale Avenue from R1 7.2 single-family residential 7,200 square foot minimum lot size to R1 6 single-family residential 6,000 square foot lot size.
Up next, City Council reports. Councilmember Brown.
I don't have anything new to report on any of the items under my name, but I did want to comment that I had the opportunity, along with my colleagues on the council here, Bonnie and Linda, to the grand reopening of the community pantry that was held Saturday from 11 to 2. It was very well attended, and Jim Lineberger's prayers for a respite in the rain proved successful. The rain abated just long enough for them to hold the ceremony, and I was really, really impressed with the choir singers from Hemet High School that performed an a cappella version of the national anthem. It was beautifully done and respectfully done. So kudos to those young folks who know how to deliver the anthem properly. And the event was very successful, and I think that they're well situated now to enhance the service to the elements of the community that have been recipients of all of the services that they offer. And if Bonnie or Linda want to say anything about that event too, that's all that I have.
Okay. I think you covered it. I think you did.
Linda.
Considering that both Bonnie and I were later. Missed most of that. On mine, RCTC is tomorrow. Report for the Ramona Bowl Association, the Ramona Spring Festival and Food Truck Festival. It will be April 7th downtown on North Harvard Street and on South Carmelita in the parking lot by Fingerprints. We'll be getting more information out on that. League of California Cities, we had our bi-monthly meeting last night, and the speaker on the agenda last night, it was on the topic of an initiative that is gathering signatures at this point, and it is called Keep California Safe, and it talks to changing legislation that Karina was talking about. And it is a coalition of crime victims, law enforcement, business owners, and public safety leaders working to pass the Reducing Crime and Keeping California Safe Act of 2018. And basically what the act, or what the initiative to get on the ballot in November would be, to reclassify many of the nonviolent crimes like rape of an unconscious person, sex trafficking of a child, and other serious crimes as violent, like they used to be before Prop 47 and Prop 57. Part of it is reforming the parole system to stop the early release of violent felons, to provide oversight to parolees, and to strengthen the penalties for parole violation. It's also for the accountability for thieves and organized thefts. One of the signers of this and the supporters is the Grocery Coalition of grocery stores, because they are being ripped blind daily. Anybody can go in and steal $949 every darn day of the week, and it's a slap on the wrist. It's not even worth, taking them to civil court or issuing a citation. And this is what we've done to ourselves in the state of California. It also part of it is expanding the DNA collection to include those convicted of drug, theft, domestic violence, and other serious crimes to help solve rape, murder, and other violent crimes. There is a website called Keep California Safe. They have information on there. I would urge you to look at it to find if you are in favor of this. Educate yourself on it. Find a petition that you can sign, because they are looking for signatures in California. One of the supporters, as there's several all over California, but our own district attorney, Mike Hestron, is part of the coalition group. The California Police Chiefs Association, California District Attorneys Association, Los Angeles Police Protective League, it just goes on. So I would urge you, do some homework, do some studying. If you want to make California safer for all of us, look into this. And now I am off my bandwagon.
Really?
I am.
Was that on keepcaliforniasafe.com or .org? .com. Thanks.
That's it?
Bless you. Bonnie?
Okay. On West Riverside Council of Governments, it did a couple presentations to people who are retiring in the water industry, but they also provided a PACE update and mid-year budget, and also provided information on their annual General Assembly, which is usually attended by 700 to 800 people every year. This year, the speaker will be Steve Forbes. That would be June 21st at Morongo. Second one is the Homeless Task Force. This Saturday, March 17th, from 10 o'clock to 11:30, we'll have an hour and a half of speakers on all different entities working with the homeless issue, all the way from police department, fire department, Solutions for Change, mental health, a number of speakers, probably about 10 speakers, which won't speak long, but give a direct update as to what we're doing within the city regarding this issue. And Skate Plaza Task Force is next week, and that's all I have.
Can I correct one thing before you do your report?
Sure.
The website for this entity is keepcalsafe.org. So I'm sorry, I'm just looking, Keep California Safe. So keepcalsafe.org.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, let's see, I've got Planning Commission. I was at the Planning Commission meeting on Tuesday night. There was an approval by the Planning Commission on 192 lots, residential lots for construction. RSI is the applicant on that one, so that was approved. That's on Fruitvale.
Sanderson.
Not that. Is that Elkin Park? No.
Fruitvale.
West of Sanderson.
Fruitvale. Yeah.
State, sorry.
let's see what else. RCA was canceled, not enough agenda items, and that's all I got. Tons of fun. No, that's not all I got. We met with, Linda, you were out of town, so Carly and I met with Caltrans. I guess I can talk about that on the ad hoc committee reports, since Carly's not here. So with that, ad hoc committee.
Investment Policy Ad Hoc Committee is meeting on Thursday.
Okay. Master annexation, no meeting yet. And then the Florida Avenue, so I'll talk about that. So we met with Caltrans this past week and had some progress with them as far as getting, they're still moving forward with the project, but we're getting them to see that there's more options than just a raised median all the way down Florida Avenue. We talked about lighting options. Some portions of Florida Avenue would benefit from a raised curb median. Other portions lighting, other portions, well, for the whole thing, light synchronization would benefit. But we have another meeting that we're scheduling on the 21st, next week, in San Bernardino. So there'll be more to come at the next council meeting on how that meeting went. And that meeting, the meeting that we're going to have next week is going to be more with coming in with getting some of these options done. So making this project actually better for us. So that's all I have. City managers. Okay. Future agenda items.
Yep. Sometime in the near future, because of comments I have received from the public, I would like to see either a work study or something similar to that for our new commissioners. We have, as elected officials, we kind of know what we can do and what we can't do, and there are restrictions and printed rules and regulations, not only from the Political Fair Practices Act, but also from just about everything else in the world. We're governed by Brown Act, and a lot of these things apply to commissioners also. Filing the forms that we have to do, especially the Form 700, which is a statement of interest, and I sometimes don't know that our commissioners are aware going into these things that they kind of have to disclose everything in their life the way the rest of us do. So however we do this, and also what their responsibility as far as speaking as an individual, posting things as an individual, or speaking as a commissioner and putting the city in a liability position, because we've had things in the past that have happened. I know other cities have been sued vast sums of money because commissioners have gotten up and spoken in an official capacity in front of a group, and they really didn't have an official capacity. So whether it's a work study for our commissioners, whether it's a detailed letter of instruction going out to our commissioners, I think we have 4 old-timers out of all of the commissioners at this point, and the rest of them, I don't know that they've gone through the training that they should be going through and know exactly what they should be, what their responsibilities are. So, Mr. Legal, what would you recommend we handle this, since it's a legal issue?
I know that once they're a commissioner, they go through the mandatory AB 1234 training. So they do get some discussion about Brown Act and conflict of interest and public records. What I don't think they get is before they sit in the seat, go through that talks about parliamentary procedure and conflict of interest and Brown Act and decorum issues and things like that. I'd be happy to work with the city manager, city clerk, department heads to put together a program. I mean, it's not a long program that they would have to have, an hour or so,
or
even
to be difficult.
Some written guidelines we could put together for them. Be happy to talk with the group and bring something back to you.
I would like that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Russ, you got anything? Bonnie?
Yeah, as we saw tonight with the CCA presentation, we've seen that 3 to 4 times, and I would like to see a work study with all 5 members here to discuss the viability of that item for our city. Whether or not we think it's something that we should move forward on, or just a discussion whole in the whole council as to how we feel about it.
I've got 2 things. At the last council meeting, I wanted to have a item for the Habitat for Humanity group in Hemet to see what we can do to get a project going. So if there's anything that we as the city can do to help them get that project moving. And then I would also like to see maybe in a month an updated report from our police chief on the status of how things are going with the increase in our officers out on the street and how things are playing out and all that. And that's all I have. So with that, we will adjourn this meeting. Oh, one more. Oh, we've got to go back into closed session. So we will recess to closed session and then be back after that.